welcome back to The Roottrees Are Dead, but instead of the Roottrees being dead, we have I'm a Secret Roottree. So we're going to be looking at the second chapter. We unlocked a new game mode called Roottreemania. Find out what happens to the infamous family in a whole new mystery. Roottreemania will spoil unlocked content. Make sure you've tied up any loose ends before starting. Well, we did last night. We beat everything. But let's put it in here just in case. Is what's her name going to come back? Samantha? Oh, it's raining. Oh, different one.
Hi, I'm Clark. Probably not who you expected to be knocking, but life's funny sometimes.
I know you, Clark. I looked at your family photo from the mall that inspired the Super Bowl commercial for the You Need a Rest. We found that out last night.
You've done well staying anonymous. It took us a while to track you down.
Oh.
A lot has happened in the last year. Far too much of it public. But there's stuff going on behind the scenes, too. I never wanted to be president. I'm not great with stress. With my mother's deteriorating I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because part of the fallout of Sam's book is that everyone's coming out of the woodwork. Now that it's public knowledge that Clancy Trust covers any Roottree despite their history with us, a lot of potential cousins have surfaced.
Oh.
You may have seen that man on the cover of News Time. It was a disaster for us.
I didn't, but I'll take your word for it.
And then Miracle went and made it all about himself.
Ugh, just like Miracle.
The long and short of it is a lot of potential cousins just showed up. Sam's helping some of them, but she's not really going about it the right way. And she's not taking calls from anyone in the family. I let it slip through a mutual friend that I found you, and I was stopping in. It's manipulative, but I'm hoping she'll reach out to you. You can let her know I'm on her side. In the meantime, if you're willing, I can share our files with you. Pass them along to Sam if she reaches out. I'm genuinely hoping she'll realize I'm an ally.
Okay. Thanks, Clark.
Feel free to do your own research. I've been told you enjoy things like this. To each their own.
Okay, we got some new information. New evidence. Previously on The Roottrees Are Dead. Is this like a movie? This is a new investigation with a new focus after many months of newfound interest in the Roottrees. It is recommended you try to catch up with some of what happened since last time. Some web searches may yield new or different results, and some books or magazines from your previous investigation may be relevant to your new one. It's also a much more widespread search. The list of first and last names you can choose from will contain red herrings. Not all of them will be used. Below is a reminder of some of the most notable beats of your initial dive into the Roottree family tree. All evidence from before is still available, and for your convenience, any searches that do not lead to new information still function as they did during your first investigation. The Roottreemania Candy Company. I feel like we're supposed to be, there's 8 things here. We're supposed to be looking at all these. But we did look at all these things. Many of the younger Roottrees were found by following a complex rabbit hole through a conspiracy site that led to finding a searchable web address for Chris Rafferty. That's right, yep. November Roottree was really difficult to place. Her occupation could only be found by Brian Jones's website. Ronald is a okay. See, this is my problem. I don't want to read all this. What's this? Oh, that's him. August 3rd, 1999. There was a knock at your door. Clark Rafferty LaRue, the current president of the Roottreemania Candy Company, explained that multiple people have come out of the woodwork to claim to be Roottrees. He's been trying to work with Sam, but she has not yet answered his calls. He also handed you a letter he said you could share with Sam. To both of you. The company I hired to help us with the Clancy Trust is busy pouring through the entire family's history, as well as people they may have had contact with. That said, the family is not particularly happy with this and are doing their best to slow things down. Many of them are actively avoiding our interviews. Every time there's a high-profile public case, it causes headaches, so please, I don't mind if you do your research, but I ask you stop going to the press. Instead, we have a highly trained team of lawyers to back you up. We're ready and willing to verify anyone and everyone you believe could be realistically part of a relationship that led to the birth of a new root tree. Just tell us who to investigate by filling in the new sections of the tree. We'll take the time to handle verifying the timeline checks out. But keep in mind while we're here, if someone didn't have a child or has already been disqualified by our lawyers, like in the case of the girl with the negative DNA test, there won't be a place for them on the tree. We're not just looking for affairs and infidelities. We're only looking for the ones that led to potential new root trees. Some spots in the new section will be marked with a tree icon. Those areas are reserved for members of the original family tree you filled in 8 months ago. Just like last time, be sure to use birth names for everyone you add. Married names or nicknames won't be enough. To start sorting out the infidelities, I recommend you turn your eyes to the men in positions of power. I'd love to say that's only because it would have been a lot harder for the women to hide 9 months of pregnancy and birth without the family noticing, but I can't. I'll be blunt. I'm no stranger to infidelity. I wish I could claim I was the perfect husband, but you've seen the family tree, so why pretend? Some of us learned how to wield our family name and fortune to our benefit. Consequences be damned. I can't change the past or unhurt those who I betrayed. Instead, all I can do is be honest with myself and to you, refuse to make any more mistakes, and do my best to sort out the various messes we've left behind. So please, fill in the tree, and together we can figure out how to begin to make amends. Good luck, and thank you both. Clark. Gross, Clark. Your whole family's gross, and I hate them all. All right, what do we got? The 6 pieces. Oh yeah, because there's the hidden guy. So did they start calling them the 6 pieces? It's been 8 months since you helped Sam Madsen with the research. I'm glad we're doing this back to back because I remember everything we did last night. Sam was true to her word and paid you an incredibly large sum of money. Oh, thank you. Why are we still living in the same house? She never mentioned you by name, however, so you've managed to keep a low profile. The root trees, on the other hand, have not. Below is a summary of notable events since the book's release, though you can refresh your memory in full detail by searching online. Oh, her book was called The 6 Pieces. Oh, can I not? I need to connect to the internet, please. I wondered why I couldn't search it. Ah, there we go. Why can't I search? Okay, so this was her book. So now can I search? Yeah. 6 Pieces, Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family by Sam Madsen was released in early 1999 and perhaps assisted by a still relatively recent plane crash at the top of the charts. Wait, there's an older version of this page in the Time Travel Archive. Oh gosh, we'll look at that in a minute. Reviews were mixed and its time on the bestseller list was limited to only 2 months. Most reviewers agreed that the core of the book about Samantha's fathers and the struggles they faced was compelling, and the takedown of the hypocrisy of Elias Roottreee was well-deserved. However, many took umbrage with the timing of the release and the tone of the book, which seemed vindictive. The fallout from the book led to the Roottreee Company scrambling to release a statement, and due to a conflict of leadership, famously released multiple conflicting official statements over 3 days. This confusing move was referenced in popular culture due to a late-night sketch about indecisionitis, but more traditional analysts have been calling it the Roottreee Rift. A few months later, due to Roottreemania, the book re-entered the charts and sold even better than the first time. Okay, so there's an older version of this. Oh, yeah. That just says, like, it was on the way. Okay, so if I wanted to look up the Roottreee Rift, the 3 press releases from the Roottreee Candy Company after the release of the 6 Pieces were referred to as the Roottreee Rift due to the clear conflicts between them. The first was fairly standard. It stated that there was no president of the Roottreee Company, but that the entire family was made aware of the release of the book, and they would be meeting as soon as possible. Only then could they verify the legitimacy of the claims it raised and decide next steps. The second release was emailed to business newspapers 3 hours later and announced that after a vote, Ron Roottreee would be taking over temporarily as an interim president. It also went on to state that Ron was aware of the book, had verified the claims within, and would look into compensating Mrs. Madsen and her family immediately. It also stated the company lawyers would be taking immediate steps with the family to revisit the Clancy Trust's terms to make sure nothing like this would ever happen again. It was quickly clear to business reporters and analysts that the time between the two press releases would not have been logistically sufficient to gather a majority of the family, even using conference calls. This was reported on many news channels, and a third, much shorter press release came the next day. It claimed that a draft of the announcement was made prematurely and that Clark, Rafferty, LaRue, and Ron Roottree would be taking over as the company's first joint presidents. It also stated that any compensation plan would be based on stringent verification process. Clark, oh no, Clark Rafferty LaRue is the new president of the Roottree Corporation. This does not include Root, period, which appears to have its own new leadership. In early March of 1999, about 5 months ago, it was announced that both Clark Rafferty LaRue and Ron Roottree would be taking over for what was essentially described as the transitional period in the aftermath of Six Pieces. About 2 weeks later, the company released a press statement that thanked Ron for his work, but announced that Clark was the new permanent president. Most of the information about Clark you already knew. Many descriptions of him tend to focus on his advertising career and that his mother, Lauren, was Lauren Roottree. Few seem to touch on his complex and volatile marital history. Since taking over, Clark has tried to remain out of the spotlight, but did have one notable foray into the public eye. He gained a lot of support when his first move was a statement in favor of accepting Sam and her family into the trust. This also served as an announcement that the Clancy Trust would no longer be handled by anyone in the family, since due to the financial motivation, none of them could be impartial. Okay. So we read about that, we read about that, we read about that. 5 Ps. 5 Ps, aka Felix Fellows, is a rapper who has found some recent radio play after being publicly confirmed as a long-lost Roottree and entitled to part of their fortune. His alias, 5 Ps, is a play on the 5 pieces. This is like the lamest universe. An article you find on a website known for their particularly harsh reviews of modern music. Is that Modern Music Monthly? Is that Modern Music Monthly? Nothing relevant, but okay. Wait, there's a album name. Maybe that's what it is. No? Be sure to have the correct magazine. Well, maybe Modern Music Monthly is not... There's no Silver Screen magazine. We didn't find that in the first game. Apparently Modern Music Monthly isn't around anymore. Okay. An article you find on a website known for their particularly harsh reviews. I'm sorry, I'm the old one. It's a website, not a magazine. Gives his most recent album, Root of All Evil, 1 star out of 7 for whatever reason, with the headline, "More poser than my action figure collection." The review mentions his real name is David, and he used to go by Dirty Davy. And the author rues the fact that his rebranding was a blatant marketing stunt at the expense of his mother's tragic past. She overdosed when she was 16. Apparently, only one of the songs on his album is new, and the others were simply rewritten to turn blatant references to sex, drugs, and violence into clumsy euphemisms. So he is at the bottom. So his mother was a Roottree who overdosed when she was 16. Scandal. His rise to prominence was kickstarted when he appeared a few months ago. Oh, that's what he was talking about. On the cover of News Time, holding a photo of his mother with Guy Hudson. We know Guy Hudson. He's one of the twins. No, News Time is the periodical. Oh, I can't search that until, right? I can't type in there. I can't type in there, can I? Yes, I can. News Time. What would I even search? His old name? 5Ps. There we go. Felix Fellows, aka 5Ps, famously appeared on the cover of News Time, kicking off Roottreemania. Then a week later, Miracle Roottree appeared on the cover of the magazine in an article that focused heavily on 5Ps as well. A summary of both articles, as well as a close-up of the photo 5Ps is holding on the cover, have been added to our evidence. That's right. Can we find Dirte Dave? According to fan sites, Felix Fellows is not 5P's actual name. You don't say. His birth name was David Fellows. Dirte Dave was 5P's previous stage name. He used to sell records and perform live shows in Portland under that name. There are some people selling his old mixtapes on auction sites. One's apparently called Dirte Devil and another Dirt Poor. Okay. At first, the Roottree company denied it vehemently, him with Guy Hudson. Miracle Roottree even appeared on the same magazine a week later, but since then they backtracked and publicly welcomed him into the family. Their press release at the time stated they had new evidence that confirmed his story. Oh my gosh, well, what's our board look like? We haven't actually looked at our board. Okay, this is everything we did. Look at how smart I was. Did they fill in the spouses? They filled in the spouses. Okay, who was that? Who was that? Catherine Wilkins was married to the mechanic. Okay, that makes sense. We have all of our random spouses filled in. Fantastic. Okay, so now we're doing this. Okay, there's not as many people, I don't think, but what are we doing? Possible Infidelity 3 from 1975-1982. So this is someone who is also on the original tree. So somebody had 3 infidelities in that time frame? Infidelity split up. This person is also in the original tree. This person is also in the family tree update. 2 people got married? But this is probably like a random, someone stole someone's spouse? Oh my God. And that led to a child. So this is an important person. They have a star. Oh my gosh. So wait, where is... The rapper 5Ps appeared on the cover of News Time holding a Polaroid of his mother, Joanna, when she was Zach Morton's secretary at a company picnic. This is Guy Hudson. He claims that Joanna and Guy Hudson, also in the photo, were having an affair that led to his birth. So we don't have a photo of him. We have a photo of his mother. And Guy Hudson. Oh, look, Roottree Family Picnic. Yeah. So he's one of the infidelity. You know what? I would think that he was maybe like this one. Don't you think? He seems kind of skeezy. First affair. If it was his first affair. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 affairs? Do you think Joanna was his first? I'm putting him here. I think this is him. Just looking at his stupid face. Okay. Oh wait, here he is. Oh, that looks about right. 5Ps, aka Felix Fellows, appeared on the cover of News Chime holding a photo of his mother and Guy Hudson. The article concerns his insistence that his father was Guy Hudson. The story was dramatic and sensational and initially dismissed as fake until a DNA test proved that he was related to Guy Hudson. 5P says that his mother Joanna and Zach Morton was Zach Morton's secretary when he retired, and then Guy Hudson's secretary for only 1 or 2 weeks after that before she quit the first few weeks that he was president. His parents divorced when he was 4 after his father learned of the affair. So this might be her. Did they get a divorce? Because these people got a divorce. Wait, he was... Wait. He has a star by him. So I think that he is that. I think that's him. Because he's the only one with a star, so it has to be him. Oh no. You have to do it separately. That helped so much before when you didn't have to do it separately. Is rapper on here? I guess it would be musician. She was a secretary until she quit. I guess it was her last job, maybe. Secretary on here? Yeah. And then who has... So I can't just type fellows and see who has that name, can I? Oh no, it could be anybody. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. That's harder. Which means I don't like it. Felix's mother then moved to Portland because she was afraid for her and her son's life. Oh my God. He grew up with her until he was 16, but one day his mother never came home from the movie rental store where she worked at the register. Oh. So her last job was retail. I mean, I guess. Or cashier? Wait, is cashier one? Yeah. The next morning they found her dead from an overdose in her car. She had stolen all the cash from the drawer and spent on heroin. As Felix went through her belongings, the only things he had to remember her by were a hairbrush she always used, some photos, and a stuffed animal from her childhood. But then he found it, a box hidden in the back of her closet. Inside were love letters and photos related to Guy Hudson, as well as a letter from his father containing threats. He threw it all away, with the exception of the one photo he appears with on the cover of News Time. He says, the only one from where they were dressed. The only one not from the affair itself. The picture was shown in full inside the magazine. The magazine also includes some additional history about 5P's career. Felix Fellows was born to Riley and Joanna Fellows. Okay. I hope this is correct. We're really going for it. But has never rapped without a moniker. He tried to find success by opening for other artists and even by selling CDs on the street corners in Portland. He has only recently started going as 5P's to harness the power of his lineage. The writer did some research into the truth of these claims and was able to confirm that Joanna did work for the Roottreemania Company as a secretary sometime during the early to mid-70s. It also confirms she died of a drug overdose and that Felix went into foster care soon after. They were unable to track down his father. They also reached out to the Roottreemania Company, but at the moment the company's blanket statement was, since the release of a recent book, Roottreemania has seen an overwhelming number of false ancestral claims. None have been factual, and nearly all have been knowingly dishonest. We encourage individuals to reach out to us in an official capacity, as opposed to attempting to use our name in the media for publicity. Let's do an updated search for the Roottreemania Company. Much has changed over the last many months at the Roottreemania Candy Company. One of those things is its website. Oh, wow. Although during your last search you only got a good look at the history page, the design itself has clearly become much more sleek and very corporate. Gone is any history focused on Elias Roottreemania. Well, good thing we have the older website to go off of. Instead, the site seems to focus on the present status of their candy offerings with the high quality JPEGs of each of their products. Not a JPEG. Amazing. There are also some small ads for Root Period, which is the clothing company owned by the Roottreemania Candy Company. There's a small section at the bottom that lists the president as Clark Rafferty LaRue. A short bio mentions he was responsible for some of their marketing before taking the reins after an unfortunate plane crash. There's also a small memorial section for those that perished in the plane, along with the Roottree sisters, Carl and Brenda, Kurt Johnson, Mark Sanchez, Trish King, and Eliza Nicholson. A bunch of stranger names. We have not heard of any of these people. What do you want to bet some of these people are related? Right. Kurt Johnson and Mark Sanchez were the pilot and co-pilot of the Roottreemania jet during its crash last December. Although the NTSB investigation has not been released, foul play has been ruled out. Trish King was on the cabin crew. Oh, do you think she was a secret person? Elizabeth Nicholson, who went by Eliza, lived in a house with her family about 200 yards from the section of the woods where the plane crashed. She reportedly had a heart attack during the commotion, and her family were unable to reach emergency services due to overwhelmed phone lines and the ongoing storm. Her son-in-law managed to flag down an officer responding to the plane crash. All right, well, we're looking up this stewardess. Okay, just Trish. That's it? Oh, I think something's with this person. So where do we find this website? Can we search news time for Guy Hudson? Felix Fellow appeared on the cover. Yep. Miracle Retreat. Oh yeah, let's look at miracles. Look at how old he is. He's still in that stupid rainbow tie from the 70s. Oh look, they put like the reflection of the other one in his glasses. That's kind of cool. Charlatans and thieves. Miracle Roottreemania fires back. Miracle Roottreemania appeared on the cover of News Time shortly after 5Ps did. He vehemently denied that 5Ps was Roottreemania. This article was from before the DNA test proved it. Miracle doesn't focus much on the details of 5Ps' accusations regarding his mother and Guy Hudson. Instead, he comes across as exhausted at the events that have been going on behind the scenes, as well as the character of those he feels are attacking his family. He starts with 6 pieces content. He says that although most of the book was based in fact, it left out anything that wouldn't fit the agenda. He points out that Sam's daughter still earns a generous salary for overseeing the farm division of Roottreemania, and that Sam did the same before her. That Sam's family was not destitute, and that really it was only her son who chose to take on a job with no salary. You mean the president of Roottreemania Candy Company? He claims that though they didn't have to, the family helped pay for her son's medical bills after voting it was the right thing to do. Miracle also says the story about his father, Elias, shunning EC was one-sided, leaving out that Edward Clancy's blame in the whole thing. Elias gave him a simple ultimatum: stop sinning or be disowned. So of course it wasn't, he told him to stop being gay. He gave him an option. So it really wasn't his fault. He could have done it. Miracle says that it was EC's own choice, and that Elias allowing him to earn food and shelter on the company dime was kindness, especially consider that he and John continued to live together. Miracle then pivots to the fallout from the 6 pieces. He recounts a deluge of claims to the Clancy Trust the family have been subjected to. He doesn't cite any specifics, but says that every time someone comes forward, the family devolves into arguments. They've had to hire an outside legal team to help, but so far every case has been demonstrably, laughably false. All they do is tarnish his family's reputation. He focuses on 5Ps who appeared on News Time before him. He calls him a grifter and a delinquent, and says that using their name and products to sell filth to the masses. Of all the accusations, he says this is the most dangerous because it exposes the world to hatred. He cites 5P's lyrics as violent, sexist, ungodly. Praise the boy will repent, retract his lies, and find religion. Lastly, he turns to the future. Miracle states that those that wish to hear the true story can join on him on his farewell tour upcoming fall. The Miracles Root Tree are planning on touring the country's churches one last time. And now at age 71, Miracle is the oldest living root tree. While he plans to continue preaching at his own church in Butler County after the tour, this is your last chance to hear the truth from the man with the most complete recollection of one of America's most notable families in your own hometown. The article mentions Miracle's son, Miracle Jr., did not wish to comment and has a statement from Clark Rafferty LaRue through the Root Tree's law firm. Miracle does not speak for his entire family. We're working carefully on a plan to definitively disprove any claims of infidelity in our family's past. The article also does not refute Miracle's claim that he's the oldest living root tree, despite Sam Matson being born a year before him. It was unclear if Miracle made the claim out of ignorance or spite. Okay, I want to look at the Clancy Trust again to see if there's been any updates to that. The Clancy Trust is the Root Tree Company's unusual legal arrangement and the motivation for most of their major financial decisions. As a recap, the entire family earns inheritance directly from the profits of the candy company, as well as their sister clothing company, Root Period. This means that nearly every root tree can potentially have a say in the company's high-level operations. Historically, this caused the family to be slow to approve any major expenditures that could significantly dig into the profits. After the release of 6 Pieces by Sam Matson, the Clancy Trust came under heavy scrutiny. Sam, her children, and her grandchildren should have all been covered under the trust, according to the wording revealed during an internal family conflict between Ron and Robbie. Why are Ron and Robbie fighting? Because one of them was born out of wedlock, so I guess the other one wants to kick him out, but it's your brother. That's weird. It seems that those who wrote the trust, Clancy Edward Roottree at the direction of Elias Roottree, purposely deceived the rest of the family about the exact details of how it worked in an attempt to keep Sam and her father, E.C., in comparative poverty. Because the rest of the family made money hand over fist, they had very little motivation to question their understanding. Sam's book revealed this to the public, and it did not go over well. Clark Rafferty LaRue took over the company, and his most celebrated move was his first official one. He ensured Sam's family would get their share. To help facilitate this, the inheritance aspect of the trust is now under control of a third party, Ruby Legal Enterprises. Well, we're going to be looking that up. This ensures that the financial motivations of the root tree family members will not interfere with the investigation into potential new root trees. According to Clark's letter, however, some family members are still doing their best to slow the investigation down. Okay. Ruby Legal Enterprises is the name of the law firm that has been hired by the Root Tree Candy Company. The company is named after its head lawyer, Ruby Spratt. You can't find much about the company from before this year, though all the articles tell the same tale. After the fiasco of 6 Pieces and the revelation that the Root Tree's internal law group were complicit in such a cover-up, they hired outside counsel. The Ruby Legal Enterprise Group now seems to have ties to multiple aspects of the Root Tree Corporation, including the candy company and Root Period. They were recently in the news due to a high-profile lawsuit they raised against Cicely Sanchez. Who's that? Cicely Sanchez is an author best known for her Portrait of a Changed Man. Hold on. Let's look up this book before we go any further. It's out of print in 1979. The book's description says it's nonfiction. What if everything you stand for, everything you know to be true today, could disappear in an instant? All of your politics, relationships gone in the blink of an eye? Would you still be you? Cicely Sanchez tells this powerful, true story about a man who woke up after being saved from drowning in his backyard pool and became an entirely different person. Included are interviews from those that knew him best before, as well as one-on-one chat with that paints an entirely different picture. You won't be able to put it down without wondering, what if that were me? Would you? Would you really? Okay. Her follow-up Foreign Gospel in 1984 did not perform as well critically, but still sold quite respectably. She has written a few more books since then, including a biography of Van Gogh. All right, well, let's Foreign Gospel tells the tale of a man from the Catholic Church who claims he was told by God that he should travel to Thailand and began to preach specifically with the goal to convert 10,000 people. He returned to the United States after just 2 years, claiming to have succeeded. The book tells his version of the story, but the author, Cicely Sanchez, also traveled to Thailand to investigate these claims and talk with some of the so-called converted. And what did she find out? I'm curious. According to the site about authors, Cicely is known for her nonfiction with a focus on exploring darkness in the human psyche. Recently, Cicely appeared in a magazine called Picotee with an article about a book she had been commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. All right, hold on. Picotee. In an issue that focused on a talking toy fish and the demonic messages it supposedly said as the batteries ran low, Picotee had an article about a canceled book by Cicely Sanchez. The book's subject was Guy Hudson, and the issue was said to contain pictures that Cicely did not have the rights to publish. Ooh. Because of the pictures, the issue was pulled from store shelves, making it the subject of some conspiracies and an instant collector's item. Due to this recall, the version found in these archives is incomplete. The magazine and Cicely herself were immediately issued a cease and desist due to his inclusions of pictures she never had rights to publish. The issue was pulled from store shelves, making it an instant collector's item. Nicotine. There's a lot of clues in this one. This was an issue of Picotee magazine that contained an article about Cicely Sanchez. The story concerned an unreleased book she had written about Guy Hudson. It seemed that it used photos of Guy that Cicely did not own the rights to publish. Unfortunately, the magazine was issued a cease and desist. The magazine was pulled from shelves, and the version you found in your periodical search had the relevant pages removed, rendering the magazine useless. How are there 8 clues on here? Let's look for Guy Hudson. Okay, that's the same thing. Reveals Roottree's secrets. Well, that's not helpful. I would like to learn about a demonic fish toy. No. I wish I could find the book title and we could find that maybe they had the book. I'm gonna look up Guy Hudson again. This page hasn't been updated for 8 months and may be irrelevant. Thank you. Miracle Jr. Miracle Roottree. We're already struggling. Amazing. There are also a few dead ends and red herrings. Aloysius herring root tree. Family Man, a book about Elias root tree. Lauren's other books, historical romance novels, were not useful, though could lead to other information. Carolyn Martin's sculptures were not useful. So Lauren's other books. Oh yeah, Ron tried to get Robbie removed because he said that he was born out of wedlock. How do we get a list of all of Lauren's books? And Clark said that he also had infidelity. That led to a child? Oh my god, this one leads to a lot of things. Wait, that was that. This one, it says, has 8 things in it. I don't know what we can search that has 8 things. Should we look up the magazine on search? Picotee magazine is a publication that, as far as you can tell, has no consistent theme. It tends to contain tabloid-esque articles that appeal to a wider variety of audiences, and appears in many grocery stores near the checkout line. Unlike traditional tabloids, it doesn't typically feature celebrities on the cover. Instead, it tends to latch onto and create sensationalist headlines about whatever subject appears to be popular at any given time. In recent years, it has included Beanie Babies, Magic Eye Images, and even Red Bull. It has often come under fire for printing fiction along with facts. Picotee gets around this by stating in every issue that all of its articles are all the hearsay that's fit to print. At one point, Picotee ran an article about Cicely Sanchez, an author. She claims to have written an unread book about Guy Hudson. The article was not even the main focus of the issue, yet the magazine was threatened legally by the Roottreemania Corporation. This particular issue, the Big Sass Seabass issue, was pulled from shelves. It has now become a collector's item, especially amongst conspiracy theorists trying to figure out what the Roottreemania company was hiding. You find a recently finished online auction that listed a copy at over $1,000. Well, can I buy it? I have money, allegedly, from solving the other case. Allegedly. Big Sass Seabass is a talking fish that sits on a fake mount on your wall. When you press a button and speak to it, it mimics your voice and then insults you. Many people consider it a ripoff of a more popular wall-mounted communication-based fish decoration, but the packaging makes it clear that this one does not sing. Instead, the advertisements set Big Sass Seabass apart from its competitors is a sardonic and sarcastic wit that will leave you reeling with laughter. It's oceans of fun for the whole family. You'll be hooked on this big sassy bass. The word reeling, oceans, and hooked are conveniently bolded to ensure you recognize how clever the copywriter was. Recently, it appeared on the cover of Picotee magazine. In the same issue, the Roottreemania-related article appeared. That issue was removed from stores. I know, we gotta get that issue. The issue has become a collector's item and ripe for conspiracy theories about what the Roottrees were trying to keep from the people. Well, how do we find this? Do we find the issue in here? This is the same thing. Man, I'm already hitting a wall. That's not good. That's not good for this playthrough. Can we look up the Roottree's lawyers? I don't know. Sometimes you can search stuff that you don't think you can search. I want to find out the book she was doing. Guy Hudson. Roottreemania. Roottreemania book. I don't know. A book she had been commissioned to write for Guy Hudson. So it was about him? The book's subject, but she said that it was commissioned by him. So is she another affair? Is that why it was canceled? I guess we didn't re-look up Miracle. It seems Miracle Sr. is going on a new tour of the United States in late 1999. The previous flyer for 3 Generations Miracles has been replaced. Be part of history. The oldest living Roottree reprises and retells his incredible true story. Miracle Roottree grew up as one of the famous 5 pieces, living a life of wealth and luxury, but fortune was nothing compared to the powerful force of the Almighty. Doctors determined he was destined to die young, but fate had different plans. He has lived a long and fruitful life. However, he's now in his 70s, and his age is beginning to make life on the road more difficult. So consider this your last chance to see him in a town near you before he settles back down in Pennsylvania. In this intimate evening, Miracle will reminisce about his famous history. He'll discuss his family's saints and sinners and provide a unique perspective on one of the most notable families in the United States today. Learn what originally drove him away from his fortune and into the arms of religion, and learn how his life has become more wealthy in spirit than it ever could be from his inheritance. The site also lists the churches he will be appearing in and mentions that tickets can be purchased at their local services. Noticeably absent are any mentions about Miracle's news appearances. News appearances? That's old. That's in our evidence. Did we look up Roottreemania? Roottreemania immediately followed the announcement that a rapper going by 5Ps was actually Rootree. Collectively, popular culture seemed to focus on the Rootree family and 5Ps for a few weeks before everything felt oversaturated and society moved on. Because of the 5P saga, an underlying through line to how pop culture treated Roottreemania was an excuse for everyday people to claim they were also Roottrees. Daytime talk shows had I'm a Secret Roottree episodes. Late night hosts and guests made jokes about other lost members of the family. And there was a widely shared website where you could fill in your own name to find out if you were a secret Roottree. When you submitted your name, it simply said no, with an image of Clark Rafferty LaRue giving you the finger. Dang it. I'm a secret Roottree. Can we go on that website? I want to do it. No. Roottreemania only lasted a few weeks, but just long enough for 6 pieces to re-enter the charts and to trigger new printings of other Roottree-related media. This included Lauren's diaries, VHS releases of Gwen's old movies, as well as countless others unauthorized biographies, which mostly seemed to attempt to capitalize on the Roottree sisters, Carl and Brenda. These re-releases were too late to successfully capitalize on or extend the craze. As a result, most of them were failures, and countless novelty shirts that had variations of "I'm a secret Rootree" became immediately unfashionable, although some people still wear them ironically. Yeah, we need to find Lauren's books, but I don't know how to get her books. In the wake of Six Pieces' release, Lauren Rootree was tracked down by a reporter as being in one of the most upscale memory care facilities in Pittsburgh. She was relocated back to Pennsylvania when she began suffering from Alzheimer's. There was a minor backlash towards the reporter that tracked Lauren down because they were caught standing on a ladder and holding their camera over the privacy wall to take a photo of Lauren and her son Clark sitting on a bench outside near a small pond on the premises. You know who I am interested in is Chris. No? Okay. Let's see what's up with Ron. Ron was announced as president of Rootree during the Rootree Rift, but the next press release immediately reversed the announcement and instead stated that Ron and Clark would take over. A few weeks later, Ron was dropped from the title entirely. There are hundreds of results about this development, but most articles are a retelling of basic details. Some veer into heavy speculation based on an article about Ron in Business Watch. Ron has also done some interviews saying that the truth of what went on behind the scenes is not something he wishes to discuss. Instead, he hopes to release a movie about it someday. 3 weeks ago, Ron's mother, Gwen, died in Paris, France. He and his brother, Robbie, have seemingly made amends. Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Rootree Rift about what really happened with Rootree. The article mentions that nobody from the Rootree that they reached out to was willing to go on record. Instead, a timeline of events had been constructed from public record, accidental leaks, and a source on the inside. The only parts that are new to you are also the most vague parts, the ones supposedly confirmed by the anonymous source. The timeline says the family actually held a preliminary vote after Carl Rootree died, but before the release of Six Pieces, and decided they wanted Ron Rootree to take over because of his experience running RR Productions and because he was a well-known and well-respected Rootree. But Ron seemed way too eager and personally motivated. They were worried that he would gut the Clancy Trust to remove Robbie Rootree, which he already tried to do once. The family was notoriously unwilling to do anything that could risk their wealth. They stalled, and Ron became frustrated with the delay. When Six Pieces came out, he saw his chance to force action while the family was in the limelight and released the press release himself in an attempt to get the ball rolling faster. This caused chaos within the family. They tried to save face by allowing Ron to take over as co-president with Clark, but according to Business Watch's source, Ron was impossible to deal with. He seemed like he was unwilling to protect the Clancy Trust, and they eventually let him go. After that, the role passed solely to Clark, who nobody was excited about, but seemed like the safest choice. Interesting. What's Robbie been up to? Robbie Rootree was released from French prison after serving a few years for assault. His embezzlement and arrest were partially featured in Six Pieces, as Robbie's participation in the Clancy Trust was a key piece of evidence in Sam's favor, and has since become much more publicly infamous. He has not yet returned to the United States, but when journalists reached out to him recently after the death of his mother, he had issued a blanket statement a few days ago. "The death of my mother was hard on our family. My brother and I, after spending time together caring for her and mourning, have finally made amends. It was a highly transformative few weeks when it came to our relationship. I'm in recovery for my addiction, and a major aspect of that process is that I wish to stay private." We didn't look up Root, period. The Root website has a small memorial section to the deceased members of the family, but it contains no new information. The most recent catalog, spring 1999, had an entirely black cover with no text on it. On the leadership page, you learn that Root Period is currently managed by a designer who was apparently Brenda White's second in command. You don't recognize her name, and she seems unrelated to your search. There's also a scholarship page. On it, you find information about the Roottreemania Sisters Fashion Scholarship. It is awarded to 3 underprivileged high school girls each year who wish to pursue a career in fashion. Apparently, it also gives them an opportunity to show off their designs on professional models on a real runway. According to the site, the fund was created directly from the shares that would have contributed to the inheritance of the Roottreemania sisters if they were still alive. Like other aspects of the Clancy Trust, it's managed by Ruby Legal Enterprises, which I do not trust, but let's look up this scholarship. All right, nothing. I don't trust this lady. Ruby Spratt. Ruby Spratt, like her legal company, is relatively elusive. The most complete source of information you can find from before her time with the Roottreemania is from a website for a magazine owned by a major airline. She was the subject of one article from a recurring series about modern day success stories. A website for the website for a magazine owned by a major airline. Okay. Ruby grew up in foster care, but excelled at school and earned a scholarship to study at Mid-Eastern University. There, she graduated at the top of her legal class and was quickly hired as a lawyer for a prominent firm. There are a few high-profile corporate-involved cases she was a part of. One was a legal consultant for a class action lawsuit against a manufacturer of steering wheel covers. Another was to help local gas station chain in her hometown of Portland with the rollout of a promotion that allowed gas station customers the ability to bet on the price of gas. The blurb ends by calling her new firm a double threat. Her company's services are a cross between a traditional lawyer and a PR manager. I am interested in why they say Portland, because that's where the 5-piece guy, that's where you're from. You were in Portland. Mid-Eastern University is a notable private college that advertises itself as midway between Maine and Miami. Okay. Their mascot is the Spectres, though they are not known for their sports programs as much as their education. Their legal and language departments are the pride and joy, though they also have fairly extensive computer science and robotics programs. Do you think this Ruby, it said she grew up in foster care. Do you think she was a kid that like they didn't want to claim? It gave her up for adoption. Is that a option? Is it an option for a child to be... I mean, this one is guardian adoption or otherwise, but you don't say anything about like, I don't know. Along with other prestigious schools that haven't quite reached the notoriety of Ivy League schools, some refer to it as Little Ivy. The college has embraced this, calling their newspaper the Herald, which is a combination of Hedera, the scientific name for Ivy, and Herald. Okay, hold please. We got a new periodical. And well, we want to search for Ruby Spratt. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, it like cancels it out. Okay, hold on. We'll just remember how to spell her name. No? Oh wait, no, not me. Are you kidding me? Sorry, my bad. Ruby Spratt graduated at the top of her class from Mideastern's Legal College. Her valedictorian speech was somewhat controversial at the time, as it was quite serious, with a heavy focus on wealth and equity. Yeah, she's a secret Roottrie, for sure. This didn't go over well with the predominantly middle to upper class audience in attendance. The editor of Herald at the time said, Ruby, unsatisfied by simply earning her place at Mideastern with a full scholarship, went on to earn a captive audience of her peers with a perfect GPA. It felt like the ideal occasion for a celebration of an undoubtedly incredible individual. However, by the end of her speech, there were many in the audience that wished that neither of those events had transpired. It was a passionate attempt to use her soapbox to proselytize her fellow students and their parents into the religion of poverty, but unfortunately, judging by the silence, they remained unconverted. Wow. Their website boasts that they have a historical technology museum on campus, including a still functioning computer from the 1960s that takes up a full room. They also have a printing press that they use to print one special year-end issue of Herald each year. Oh, we didn't read all this. And Anonymom and Jane Doe Roottrie. In July, an anonymous woman who the press began to refer to as Anonymom, that's really hard to say, appeared in interviews with her face and voice disguised. She claimed that an affair with a Roottrie led to the birth of her daughter, aka Jane Doe Roottrie. If true, this would make her daughter yet another secret Roottrie and therefore entitled to a share of the Clansett Trust. Nobody knew it at the time, but this would turn out to be the last chapter in the Roottreemania saga. As more and more of Anonymom's story came out, people began to notice how much it echoed Five Pieces in nearly every significant way. The court of public opinion began to turn, confirming the world's suspicions. The DNA test, orchestrated by lawyers on both sides, proved that her daughter was not a Roottrie. This final event caused public disappointment, smugness from doubters, and countless accusations of the entire ordeal being an elaborate hoax or attempt at fraud. Things got a bit ugly, and the fun of Roottreemania seemed to disappear overnight. Now, a month later, it feels like a distant memory. Anonymom was the second high-profile case after Felix Fellows of a potential new Roottrie. Instead of claiming herself a Roottrie, she claimed she'd slept with Guy Hudson and that her daughter was a Roottrie. The accusation came during the height of Roottreemania and began with a brief TV interview. She appeared in the shadows with a disguised voice and promoted an article about herself in News Time. Oh, okay. An anonymous woman appeared on the cover of News Time holding a picture of her daughter, Jane Doe Roottrie. The first and only mention of the phrase Anonymom in News Time came the week after, when they issued an apology for featuring her in the first place. The summary of the initial cover article has been added to your evidence. Well, but they said she wasn't. The DNA evidence said she wasn't the daughter. In the TV interview, she referred to her daughter as Jane Doe Roottrie. The name Anonymom was not self-inflicted. It seemed to spring up organically because no one knew how to refer to her. The day after the News Time article, Sam Madsen publicly supported Anonymom due to some parts of the story she found particularly credible. With the momentum from Sam's endorsement, Anonymom went out on a media blitz. Ultimately, this backfired. As more details came out, people became skeptical of her story due to the extreme similarity to Five Pieces. Her accusation even included many of the same details of his mother's story. This included her job, secretary, and the time period, late 70s. What are you saying? You don't believe that a guy kept sleeping with his secretary in the late 70s? I believe that. I 100% believe that. After fumbling the Five Pieces story so publicly, the Roottries were more prepared to handle all Clansett Trust related cases. I don't understand why it's a thing. You say you are related, you take a DNA test, like, why is there any more process to it than that? Within a week, a DNA test proved that Anonymom's daughter could not be related to the Roottrees. But I do believe her. This was announced at a joint press conference with lawyers representing both Anonymom and the Roottrees. Each party ensured their respective clients provided accurate samples. Wait a minute. So each party said their clients provided accurate samples. So the Roottrees lawyer was like, trust us. They gave us a good sample. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Immediately after the negative results were released, many of those who had already been skeptical felt vindicated. Others who had built up hope that history could repeat itself after 5Ps felt duped. Many people suspected the whole affair had been a hoax to gain fame and money. Many demanded that Anonymom be held accountable, and some people even began to attempt to track down her identity and dox her. The Roottree company felt pressured to put out a second statement to try and curb some of the backlash, even going so far as to say, though it was scientifically proven that Jane Doe Roottree is not a Roottree, this doesn't mean that her mother and Guy Hudson were not involved in an affair. She had every right to make her claim, as it has been verified that her stories about Guy Hudson were not exaggerations. Please leave their family alone. Many people claim this high-profile anticlimax and public backlash was the beginning of the end for Roottreemania, since much of the fun was the shared fascination about secret Roottrees. Others think that, like any fad, it just ran its course naturally. Regardless, this was the final notable event related to the release of 6 Pieces, and things soon went back to normal. Jane Doe Roottree has already been eliminated as a potential new Roottree by the company's lawyers, who are the ones verifying your work. Anonymom's affair does not appear on your updated tree. Okay, but I don't question she had one. I don't question she had one at all. We also haven't looked up Sam yet. Okay, so this is new. 6 Pieces, Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family. So that was the name of the entire book. Sam Madsen's book was released earlier this year and details the truth about Elias Roottree, as well as Sam's fathers, Edward Clancy Roottree and John Miller. You helped to verify her story. So much of the book's core contents are familiar to you. That said, Sam had some sections on other family secrets and rumors. Much of it didn't matter to the primary purpose of the book, and some of it's new to you and may be important to your news search. These sections have been added to your notes. Thank you. We saw that. Okay. Indecisionitis. Indecisionitis was a disease coined by a popular sketch show as part of a fake pharmaceutical advertisement for Jit Together. While the segment isn't fully about the Roottree Candy Company, it was released in the weeks after their bizarre response to the release of 6 Pieces by Sam Madsen and references the recent news. In a sketch, the woman ordered a number 5 at a drive-through speaker. Then after pulling forward, she changed her mind at the window, asking to switch to a number 3. This caused a lengthy backup and annoyance amongst the restaurant's employees and other patrons. After she pulled away, as the employees began helping other customers, the same woman then barged into the restaurant, loudly complaining she didn't receive her number 5. This does not sound like a funny sketch, I just have to say. After this, the sketch transitioned from the restaurant scene into a pharmaceutical commercial. The doctor claims the woman was suffering from indecisionitis, a disease that causes extreme confusion and irritability, and has recently been found to severely hinder the leaders of large corporations, but could also spread to humans. The doctor then recommends Jit Together, a fake pharmaceutical drug. Oh, Jit Together. I got it. The final testimonial included a bald man in silhouette with a voice changer saying, "I'm not comfortable sharing who I am, but I'm comfortable saying that before I took over my family's candy company, I really should have gotten my Jit together." That's not funny, right? Like, that's not a funny sketch. Whatever. Let's look at the new evidence. So that's the book. This is Anonymom. And that's Anonymom's daughter. We can't take a picture of their face. This has no evidence in it, or so they claim. Why did they give us this then? The anonymous woman claimed to have had an affair with Guy Hudson while she was working as his secretary. She and another woman were hired at the same time during a transition period while many of the secretaries that had worked under Zach Morden were already gone. She says she and the other woman were both underqualified as neither had typewriter experience. According to other staff members interviewed, Guy had his own requirements for hiring women. Guy Hudson liked to throw lavish parties. The longer he was president, the more excuses he found. The anonymous woman points that these parties mostly seem to have been an excuse to have after parties at Guy's home, featuring much more alcohol and other substances. She claims she slept with him at one of these after parties. She confronted Guy when she found out she was pregnant. Guy didn't seem fazed, and they came to an arrangement. He paid for a significant amount of hush money on a recurring basis under the table. She used it to move away and start a new life with her daughter. When Guy died, the money stopped coming, and she assumed things had run their course. She went back to work at the department store and hoped that no one would ever look too closely at how she paid for her house. She told everyone that her daughter's father walked out one day and never came back. She claimed that after seeing the fantastic article in News Time, she realized she wasn't the only one this happened to. While she never worked at the Roottree Company at the time as Five P's mother, their stories were eerily similar, and she knew Felix was telling the truth right away. The article presented no tangible evidence of the anonymous woman's time at Roottree, and all of the payments were allegedly made in cash. However, using details that she provided to News Time, the reporters were able to reach out to the other woman hired at the same time, who also remained anonymous. I need a name, guys. They successfully fact-checked the timeline of both women, confirmed the existence of the infamous after-parties. Five P's case was strengthened, and this news story was subsequently published. Well, how do we find this news story if we don't have any of their names? Or do they mean this story was published because they confirmed? They probably mean that this story was published. Okay. This has 5. Look, it's the picture we found. What a really bad cover for a book. Sam's book has a few different passages about her own history with the company, the rumors, and the gossip she collected during that tenure. She ran the farm for a period starting around 1968. After the death of Elias Roottree, her daughter Gwen took over in 1984. Most of the relevant rumors can coincide with the reign of Guy Hudson, who took over as president in 1978. Sam was not... Wait, what was Guy? Third president. Maybe not when he died. Sam was very much not a fan of Guy. And according to Six Pieces, it was an open secret within the family that Guy was very much not a fan of remaining faithful to his wife, Patricia. Many of their hires at the time were young single women, and Guy often spent lavish amounts of money on private parties. This was 20 years ago, and Sam warns that most of it is hearsay. Still, you find the following information may be relevant. One of Sam's farm supervisors was named Elizabeth. Elizabeth had a daughter who Sam never met, but who worked as one of Guy's secretaries. According to Elizabeth, a caterer from a local restaurant called Antonelli's met her daughter at one of Guy's parties, and they eloped quickly due to a pregnancy. Elizabeth wasn't aware the party was for swingers. Rumor has it her daughter showed up with Guy and didn't seem comfortable switching partners. There are a large number of Antonelli's restaurants, not because it's a chain, just because it seems to be a common name for Italian restaurants. You may need to use a more local resource if you're looking for a specific one. Like the Business Watch? Butler County Times. Antonelli's is an Italian restaurant and it has been in Butler County Times twice. The most recent time was when it closed in 1992. The owner, Rochelle Zimmer, sold the land the building was on, and at the time of the article, she was unsure if the restaurant would move to a new location or she would retire. Many years before that, there's a puff piece from Valentine's Day 1978 that asked recently married residents of Butler County how they met. Christine Garland responded, she and her husband Steve, who was a chef at Antonelli's, met years ago when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. Her mother's farm. We only know one other farm in this story. Steve used to work extra hours just to be there during her deliveries. Although they grew apart when the restaurant switched suppliers, they reconnected by chance and eloped at the end of last year. Yes! Now she has a bun in the oven. They're both working as much as they can. She's a secretary, but went back to living personal weekends, trying to save money. This is her. This is her, Christine Garland. Christine Garland was another affair. Which one, though? He has a bun in the oven. She also was married. So I think this is her because she's the only one on this that was married. And I don't think, unless he found out the kid wasn't his and then they split up. In 1978. So wait, where were we? I'm forgetting where I saw stuff. Okay. A caterer from a local restaurant met her daughter at one of the guy's parties. Well, that's not really what they said, but they did say that she got eloped quickly due to pregnancy. Okay. So Christine Garland and Steve something. I'm gonna put her here. They're all secretaries? Garland? This makes it seem like they were married when it happened, but I don't think that matters. Rochelle Zimmer. Do you think she was in the Butler County Times as well? Or Rochelle and her husband Mark Zimmer have a few mentions in the Butler County Times. Both were local business owners. Rochelle owned Antonelli's, an Italian restaurant. Mark owned a local bookstore called Bookmarks. Both closed in 1992. Mark was also mentioned once in Butler County Times when he was sued by Steve Garland. Well, yeah, that was his caterer person. Steve Garland. Steve Garland is mentioned in a couple of articles. The first was an article about how he met his wife Christine when he worked at Antonelli's. The second is from months later in September of 1978 a listing for his weekend cooking classes, Gourmet for the Groovy. The blurb mentions he's been giving lessons from his home kitchen for the last month so he can keep an eye on his son. The third was from 1991, and it is titled Local Author Sued by Former Butler County Resident. It seems that a local author by the name of Mark Zimmer was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales. Hold on. On television, his recipe book was partially plagiarized from the recipes Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons. No copies available. Re-release is Garnishing the Truth. The entire description of this book, according to the library system, is a recipe book that contains stories. Wait, did it not just say... Re-releases Garnishing the Truth? Was it because it was Steve Garland? Yeah, the introduction of this book is a series of acknowledgments from Steve. The first is, Christine, thank you for everything. Your support means the world to me. You are the apple of my eye. The second is, to James and Robert, you're becoming amazing men and incredible chefs. I guess I'm a good teacher. Okay, hold on, James and Robert. I am gonna guess that he said that in birth order. I'm just gonna put chef there, just maybe. The finals to Mark Zimmer. You proved my storytelling approach to recipes could be popular. Without you, this book couldn't exist. There is also a foreword by Mark Zimmer. I first met Steve in 1978 when he taught a cooking class. The next time I saw him was over a decade later when he was suing me for stealing his recipes. Yes, really. So you might wonder what I'm doing in this introduction. Well, it turns out that Steve and I had more in common than we thought. Instead of settling in court, we settled it at McCarran's Brewhouse over a game of darts. By the end of the game, he and I agreed we'd both rather make a ton of money together than spend a ton of money on lawyers. It's pretty rare to meet your best friend so late in life, but when I decided to retire, I moved to Boston just so we could hang out. So if you're browsing this book in a bookstore, please buy our book. We need more money for when the free beer runs out, and the bookstore could probably use the sale. Interesting. Kitchen Tales was a story-based recipe book credited to Mark Zimmer that had some success after it was featured on a morning talk show. The book released before the internet was widespread, so mentions are rare. One book collector states the publishers were unprepared for the demand and that there were no second printings, so it's unusual to find a copy in the wild. You find an alternative medicine website which focuses on cooking with natural ingredients. It mentions one of Kitchen Tales' recipes used salt water. The owner of the site has included a scan of that recipe, which was added to your evidence. She says if you switch out the salt water in a recipe for a mix of 2/3 spring water and 1/3 filtered seawater, it tastes great. Ugh. Okay, we got distracted. His book was the article mentions all the recipes are hard to copyright. Garland accompanied each recipe with a short fiction about how he learned it. These usually doubled as a way to remember certain ingredients. Garland's bean salad, for example, involved making a trade with a gnome for some magic beans. Apparently, these stories were found word for word in Zimmer's cookbook, and in addition to additional stories that followed the same format. I wonder if this has the same. Yeah. Okay. The plated loaf. Okay, so this comes with a story. Kitchen Tales is a book that combines recipes and stories. It had a mild popularity but seemed to disappear from online marketplaces in 1992. You found a scan of one story on a website. It demonstrates how to bake the plated loaf. For years, two bakers, Flora and Yates, flirted. They grew their friendship, compared recipes, and combined knowledge. She loved his salt and pepper beard. He adored her rosemary cheeks. They thought sweetly about one another, but he was one day whisked away, conscripted to bake the army's bread. By the oil of the lamp, Flora's tears began to salt her bread. The recipe asks the reader to combine flour, yeast, salt, and water together and add the mixture and whisk until the dough begins to form. It was 10 to 12 years later. They met again. Seemingly by fate, Flora's unique dough had earned her position as the king's personal baker. Yates had found success as well. He baked for the kingdom's 45 diplomats. One day they returned from Oh, is this like 450 degrees and blah, blah, blah? I don't like this. I don't want to read any more of this recipe. What do we need to search from here? I thought we'd have a picture by now. I mean, where are we gonna find? I mean, I don't know. That seems right because there's two of them and they were married. Bookmarks appeared in the Butler County Times many times. All of them were in the form of advertisements and listing of events that took place in the store, such as book signings. Excuse me. None of it seems relevant to your current search, though Lauren Roottreemania did do a book signing in 1970. Okay, how do we find that? Like, what do we search? Do we just search Lauren Roottreemania then? In here? The Butler County Times reviewed... Oh, this has not been updated. So yeah, how do we find her book signing thing? Like, is that relevant? For what book? Because unfortunately, we can't just write... We have to do the book title as well. How do we find her other book? We're only down to one on this. We're only down to one. Really? That is irrelevant. Okay. Robbie Roottreemania was released from a French prison. We know that. Ron was announced as president. Oh, did we look at him in Business Watch? I don't think... Did I remember to do that? Spelling his name correctly would help. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we read this. We read this already. Ugh. Hmm. Oh, Chris Rafferty's Prodigy site seemed to have been discovered by the masses. Gone are the art pictures of his cousins. Instead, it's a list of questions people keep emailing him. The most relevant ones are the following. Are you the son of Clark Rafferty? Yes, but I didn't grow up with him. I remember him from when I was a little kid, but I moved away with my mom when I was very young. We left Pennsylvania and moved back home to Virginia. We lived there with Pete and my stepdad. My dad and I spoke a few times when I found his phone number on a check he sent us in the mail when I was 15. He was happy to hear from me, and now he calls me once a month and came to visit me at college. He tells me about things I don't remember and people like Guy Hudson and Ernie Madsen. My dad and I get along, but obviously we aren't very close. Did you ever meet the Roottrees? I used to know the Roottrees, but never the sisters. I was in the office sometimes when I was a kid, and I definitely met Guy Hudson before he died, but I don't remember. My memory is weird. It's hard to know what I actually remember and what I only think I do because I have pictures. For example, I have a photo from when I was 5 and in the office with my dad, and Guy was there. I made myself sick by eating chocolate, and some woman who I don't know cleaned my face. I don't know if my memories of that come from the picture or not. The photo has been added to your evidence. How did you have proof of Ernie Madsen's heart condition? I knew Ernie had a heart problem because my dad told me on one of our phone calls. I asked him about the poison because I saw it on the Roottree Curse website. He emailed me some old stuff including proof, but even with the proof, the website didn't take it down. You spelled fiance wrong. I noticed that. It was like faience with an E, and I just thought that maybe that was a legitimate error in the game and people were pointing it out. I'm not good at spelling or writing. I'm good at painting and other art. I'm going to school to learn how to edit movies. I want to make cartoons someday. Lulu is much better at spelling. I wonder if they actually did mess that up in the game, because there's no other misspellings in the game. And when I read it, I was like, faience? Does he mean fiance? Okay, so now we got an actual photo? Are you kidding me? There's Guy Hudson, and there's one of his secretaries. The photo's on Chris Rafferty's website. According to Chris, it's a photo of him, his father, and Guy Hudson. While they were distracted, he snuck in the supply of chocolate they kept for visitors and tours. Chris Rafferty did not know who the woman in the photo was. Well, I say it's one of his secretaries. All right, we got another photo of our elusive red-haired man. I can't do it because I can only do it when I verify. Okay, so maybe that was her? Well, apparently not, because we would have verified that if that was true. Do we need another photo of anyone else? Oh wait, we can actually add this? That's funny. That's cute. Okay. So I feel like good about that because they had that there, and I feel good about, well, adding that there when we get that. Okay, so we do have another secretary. Unless that is her. And this is supposed to be secretary because they were all secretaries. No, but it said she was a cashier. We have to do their last job that they had. Although she did say she was delivering groceries on the weekends. I don't know. We're gonna put secretary for now. She looks a little old, though, don't you think? She doesn't look like a young woman. We never finished. Oh my gosh, we never finished reading this. Guy's main positive contribution to the company involved expanding the markets previously untapped by Roottree. However, when he went on trips overseas, they were often for weeks at a time, and Guy was known for spending more time and money on unofficial business than meetings with distributors and manufacturers. It was said that he bribed at least one politician to open a factory in Brazil. There's also a section where Sam speculates that Elias may have also cheated on Gwyneth. Gwyneth was always much kinder to Sam than Elias was, and was the first to invite Sam to family events. While she has no hard evidence, Sam always got the impression that Gwyneth was able to coerce Elias into allowing Sam back into the family using some kind of leverage, instead of it being a natural course of events. She mentioned that Elias and Gwyneth were known to loudly argue, sometimes about another woman. Sam also says her son Ernie once asked her, "Who's Beth?" because he overheard them yelling about someone with that name. As far as Sam knows, Elias once had a secretary named Elizabeth, a different Elizabeth than the supervisor from the farm, but she never met her. Okay, wait. So she thinks this man cheated in 1921 with an Elizabeth? Is that what we're saying? I'm just gonna put secretary. Oh yeah, secretary. That's why it says that. Interesting. And then, like, do you think this is Miracle? I'm gonna say this is Miracle. And then it was Guy, and then it was two people from the family tree got together and had another kid. I hope it was people that weren't related. You don't think it was people that were related, do you? I just hope it was like an existing husband and wife like that basically got divorced and took the other one, you know, took the other one. That's what I hope happened. But I guess we'll find out as we dig more into this second mystery. I feel like at the beginning of the first part of the game, I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting people. We're figuring stuff out. I feel immediately stuck. We got like 3 things, and then I was like, I don't even know what to look for. And we're running into that thing where like, I don't know what to search. Like, do we search for this? No, like that's what I don't know what we can search for and where we search for it. That's my struggle with this game, because it doesn't function like the actual internet, obviously. Because I would just be like putting in keywords and people's names and we would get anything. So you have to figure out what to search. And that's what's... That's what's confusing me. R&R Production seems to have no project listed in development other than Guys Like Us remake. So then do we search that? The Guys Like Us remake has been discussed a few times on a website about upcoming films called Movie News. The logo is a cow on a film canister. The rumored cast is Cameron Diaz in the original role originated by Gwyn, Linda Fiorentino, and Chris O'Donnell. This game is so old. According to leaked news, the remake has been put on indefinite hiatus due to its director, who is speculated to be Ron Roottree, dropping out in the wake of a serious medical issue. Do you mean rehab? He said rehab. I thought. Okay, we got that down to 5. I think that was 6 maybe? I don't remember. We got that down to 7. This, I cannot believe there the most evidence is in this. We've looked at everything with the stupid magazine. We can't find it. We've looked at everything with Cicely Sanchez. We can't find anything. Oh. I think that's a good place to end it for tonight, though. We've done a fair amount. I've done a lot of guessing. I'm pretty sure. You know why we know that's not right? Because we would have locked that in, I think. So something's not right. Fantastic.